everyone, my name is Kerrie Burn and I'm the Library Manager at Mannix Library, which is an academic theological library associated with the University of Divinity located in Melbourne, Australia. I'm the coordinator of the Australian Women in Religion project, which is an offshoot of the 1000 Women in Religion Wikipedia project. I first heard about the international project at a conference in 2019 and initiated the Australian project at my university soon after. Until I started working on the project, I hadn't edited Wikipedia at all, so at times it has been a steep learning curve, but one that I've thoroughly enjoyed. I'm really committed to contributing in whatever way I can to addressing the gender bias and knowledge gap issues that currently exist on Wikipedia, and my involvement with this project has provided that opportunity. Today I'm speaking specifically about the Australian Women in Religion project, its progress to date and future directions. My hope is that our experience can be used as a case study for others and that this collaborative initiative can serve as a model for those working on other regional and/or topic-focused Wiki projects around the world. As I already mentioned, my involvement in the project started back in 2019. Initially, a small group of interested people from the University of Divinity was established. We got great institutional buy-in right from the start, when the university added a target of creating 100 new Wikipedia articles for Australian women in religion to its strategic plan, and this was really important in raising the profile of the project. The working group met several times, and we had scheduled and publicised our first editathon for April 2020, and then the COVID-19 pandemic put an end to many of our plans for that year. This resulted in my early focus shifting to compiling the list of names of Australian women. The list is really at the heart of the Australian Women in Religion project. I took a systematic approach to building the list, and it has been compiled from a range of recognised sources and publications, as well as suggestions from individuals throughout the project. The list has now grown to over 500 names and continues to grow as new names are discovered. Those listed are all women who have made noteworthy contributions to religious and spiritual traditions in Australia. Many have also had significant roles in fields such as education, health and social justice. We've tried to ensure diversity on the list, with women coming from a variety of religious traditions and occupations. And the list includes founders of institutions, missionaries, religious sisters, feminist theologians, researchers and academics, Indigenous women, ministers, activists, philanthropists, and both historical figures and contemporary women. However, our list is not just a list of names. It's actually a large Excel spreadsheet that also contains a lot of relevant information about each woman. This includes basic biographical data as well as URLs for useful secondary sources. We also noted which women already had a Wikipedia page and if the article may be a stub that could do with improving. Another focus was on including details about various unique identifiers where they existed for each woman. These included VIAF numbers, ORCID IDs, and various National Library identifiers, which are available for those that have a publication record. One significant identifier in our Australian context is whether a woman is included in the Australian Dictionary of Biography, as this is an automatic indicator of notability. Other local identifiers include having an article listing in the Australian Women's Register or in the Encyclopedia of Women and Leadership in 20th Century Australia. Like others have mentioned previously, difficulties exist with meeting Wikipedia's notability requirements because of the tendency for women to not receive the significant coverage in reliable secondary sources that they require. One of the priorities when compiling our list has been to focus on various notability markers when collating biographical information. So things like academic degrees, awards, influence in the public sphere, leadership positions and roles in significant organisations have all been important. Once the list was fairly complete, I went through the process of getting all of this data into Wikidata, and this was done using the Quick Statements tool. One of the fields loaded into Wikidata as part of this process indicates that a woman is on the focus list for the 1000 Women in Religion Wikimedia project. This meant that after the batch load was done, all of the women on the Australian list were included on several automatically generated lists of women of interest to the international project. One of these lists is the Women in Red list, which includes all the women that still require a Wikipedia article to be written about them. The other list includes all the women on the focus list, and so has a combination of red links and blue links when the woman has a Wikipedia article. And the objective of the project is to change as many of the red links to blue links as we can. So, what has the Australian project achieved to date? Firstly, I've continued to attend the 1000 Women in Religion Project Committee and editing meetings, as well as the meetings with the Australian Working Group. The initial working group has evolved over time. It was originally a group of colleagues at the university, high degree by research students, academic staff, researchers and professional staff. And it now includes members from other universities, members of Wikimedia Australia, independent scholars, and other participants interested in the project. It's been really rewarding to be working in partnership with so many individuals, and it's certainly been a great collaborative effort. Early on in the project, I created a web page to provide information about the Australian project, as well as links to the master list of names and other useful resources. One of the tabs on our web page also includes the list of new Wikipedia articles that have been created for women on the Australian list. One of the resources that we created is a bibliography of useful secondary sources, which includes websites as well as print sources. At Mannix Library, we also created a Women in Religion display to make some of these print resources easily accessible to local editors. We also created a Wikipedia article guide for some participants who are interested in the project but who didn't necessarily want to become Wikipedians. This enables them to create an article in a Word document with a more experienced editor can then use to create the Wikipedia article. We've now held 2 successful editathons, one face-to-face in March 2021 and one Zoom event in June 2021. And these have helped us to train up new editors. And while anyone is welcome to participate, there have tended to be more women than men at our events. So we are also helping to address the problem of 10% of Wikipedia editors being men and the resulting gendered bias on the platform. The project dashboard created for the editathons continues to collate statistical data related to our project, and we continue to promote the project via social media and online articles. We now have a tab on the web page that lists any media report about the project. Engagement with Wikimedia Australia has been fabulous. They've provided us with a local wiki community and expertise from members of that group who've been very generous with their willingness to assist our project. The association has also promoted our project and events and provided expert Wikipedians to facilitate our editathons. We've been really fortunate to have 3 successful grant applications. One enabled me to employ a part-time research assistant in 2022, and another 2 will facilitate several activities associated with the project, including the digitisation of significant primary source material and establishing an online repository for these resources. The intention is to make these resources available for scholarship and, of course, to provide reliable secondary sources for future Wikipedia articles. And editorial assistance for a forthcoming publication will also be able to be funded. The University of Divinity has also appointed a Wikipedia visiting scholar. We're really fortunate to have an experienced editor from the United States who was a member of the 1000 Women in Religion project team volunteer to work with us on the Australian project. And this arrangement is now being used as a pilot project by Wikimedia Australia. The Australian project has now created over 70 new articles, in addition to improving many existing articles, and this work will continue. Several new articles have also featured in the Did You Know section on the Wikimedia main page. Part of the project has also been to identify low-hanging fruit, the women who already had significant secondary sources, and to learn from the process of creating these articles first. After our first 2 editathons, there was a request for further training from some of the new editors so that they could consolidate their skills. We subsequently set up Wiki Wednesday, which is a regular 1-hour Zoom session every Wednesday morning that anyone can drop into. And these have been running successfully now for about 6 weeks. So what is next? We'll continue to host more editathons and support new editors who wish to contribute to the project. We still have the target of creating 100 new Wikipedia articles before the end of 2021, and we think that we are on track to achieving this. We will continue to promote and grow the project. And this includes using some of the grant funds to facilitate several activities that are associated with the Australian Women in Religion project. One of these is the digitisation of a significant Australian feminist theological journal. Another is to contribute to the publications about the project, including to future volumes in the Atla Open Press Women in Religion series. One of the most exciting projects that we're planning is a future publication about Australian women in religion, which will focus on women who have been creators and innovators. This monograph will include biographies about Australian women who have made significant contributions to religious and spiritual traditions in Australia, but who don't yet have a Wikipedia page. This publication will continue the great work of previous volumes in the Women in Religion series in creating well-researched secondary sources that will meet Wikipedia's notability requirements for article creation. These sources can then be used to create new Wikipedia articles for the Australian women on our list. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share a little about the Australian Women in Religion project. It's been really fascinating for me to discover something of the lives of the women on our list and some of the amazing contributions that they have made to religious and spiritual traditions in Australia, but also to the social and cultural life of our country in many different fields. At the same time, it's a little disappointing that many of these women were previously unknown to me. Helping to bring to light some of the unrecognised contributions of these women and helping to address knowledge and gender gaps on Wikipedia has been a thoroughly rewarding experience. As a librarian, my involvement with the project has also been a great way to promote libraries and librarians as important contributors to open knowledge creation and dissemination. So in conclusion, I invite you to consider joining us in the work of the Australian or the 1,000 Women in Religion projects in whatever way you may be able to contribute. Thank you very much for your attention.